Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to be telling you the difference between visualizing and fantasizing in daydreamland so you can properly manifest your desire instead of just waste your time. I'll also be going over inner work and shadow work around the reason why you fantasize. There's a deeper subconscious meaning that your fantasies are trying to tell you, so we'll be exploring that as well. The first difference between visualizing and fantasizing is that fantasizing has its intention to be pleasurable, while visualizing, the intention is to manifest and the intention is to identity shift into your nervous system that this desire is safe and normal. Fantasizing is done when you have no expectation that the fantasy can actually manifest in your real life. So let's take an example of those fantasies you might have. Like for me in particular, I've had fantasies where I was going on adventures. I was going on what was I doing? I was like a hero flying through space like a couple years ago when I was really, really, really deep into my fantasy worlds in my mind. And it was sort of an escapism from my current reality. So I would be someone in those fantasies that was experiencing like a plot where I was saving the world or whatever, or surrounded by a community of friends that admired me. We all had like magical powers and all of those things. And my fantasies, of course, when I went into them, I did not even expect one bit or even want one bit for them to be there in my real life, like happen sometime in the future. And this is extremely important for you to understand. It is not enough to simply think about your desired result. It is not enough. If in your fantasy you are a rock star or you're like a billionaire, you're living it up in luxury, you're surrounded by all of these wonderful cars and you have people treating you with respect, your status is very high. If you're in that world, but as you're daydreaming about it, you're just doing it because it feels pleasurable and you don't believe it can happen, then it won't. In manifestation, there are two requirements to begin the process. Number one, you need to feel good emotions of already having the desire. The emotions must swell up in your body and feel good to you, and eventually you should feel normal with those emotions in your body and feel them majority of your day-to-day life. And number two, you must believe that your scene that you're imagining is possible for you, is possible to achieve and manifest in this real world right here. And visualizing, right? That's actually what makes visualizing work, because you're visualizing scenes that are more grounded in reality and you believe that you can get there. It'll actually work out. And another thing is, if you, while you're like daydreaming and fantasizing, okay, if you accidentally, right, imagine and think about like a negative daydream, like something bad happening to you, like maybe a day ago you watched a horror movie, okay, where there was like a bunch of murderers and serial killers like spying on people's homes, and you watch that movie, you're like freaked out and you keep thinking about that movie and you feel scared about it, okay? And you're worried, like, oh God, I keep thinking about this and I keep fantasizing about this movie. I keep thinking about myself as a character in the movie because for some reason, maybe it feels pleasurable to you to like be someone that's like escaping from danger and, I don't know, like running away from a serial killer or running away in a zombie apocalypse and surviving in a zombie apocalypse or whatever, and or living in a war zone or whatever. Okay, so you have these more thrilling fantasies that are exciting to you, but obviously you don't want them to happen in real life. You don't want to be in like a situation where you're fighting for your life or in a zombie apocalypse, right? You might be thinking, will that manifest as well? If I keep thinking about it and feeling that way. And here's the thing. If you believe genuinely that it can happen to you, like you expect it, that it can happen to you in your real life, then boom, you've met 2 requirements and you'll begin the manifestation process of bringing that to you in your reality. But fortunately, if you don't want that, you have a buffer of time which prevents your desires from manifesting instantly. So just change your thoughts around to a more positive state of like being safe, of expecting to be safe and feeling safe, okay? And honestly, can you manifest a zombie apocalypse? That's a good question. That would not be very nice. That would not be very nice, would it? No, that would not be nice. So anyways, I don't have the answer to that. Only God knows. Because technically our earth is limitless, but don't manifest that purposely, okay? Don't do that. Okay, anyways, what I mean to say is that if you do like go and watch a horror movie or watch like a sad crime thriller movie, okay? Obviously you're going to be thinking about the movie and like, oh my God, all this stuff happened, blah, blah, blah. But when you leave that movie, you let it all go. Like you don't believe that whatever crime movie you watch can happen to you in real life, then it won't happen. That's kind of funny. As I was mentioning crime, I'm not sure what that was, but an emergency vehicle just passed. Anyways, if you leave the theater and you don't believe it can happen to you, you're fine. It won't happen to you. But if you leave the theater after watching a movie of something like someone getting mugged or someone getting robbed, and you walk through your daily life expecting that it can somehow happen to you and believing that it can happen to you and thinking about it, then there are chances that you will manifest it because you're putting all your focus into it. Now, anyways, let's move on to the second difference between visualizing and fantasizing. And this is, fantasizing is like watching a movie on a screen. And visualizing is like wearing a VR headset and then playing a VR game. So if you're not familiar with what a VR headset is, basically a VR headset is, how do you call it? It's something you put on your face, kind of like wearing glasses, but it's attached to like a rope behind your head, and it's basically like a phone screen in front of your eyes, okay? And basically, when you look through the VR headset, around you, you will see this fantasy world or game, whatever it is you are playing. It's kind of like you are in that world physically because you see it through your eyes. And you have like little controllers or handles that you can hold. And as you view the world through your VR headset, you can see like your hands in front of you. You can, if you're in like, let's say an action game, for example, you can hold a sword or you can hold like weapons and then you can move them around and swish them around and hit other players with them. That's what a VR headset is. You see the world through your eyes. On the other hand, in a movie, you are sitting in the theater in your seat and you're watching something play out in the screen in front of you. You're seeing different actors play out on the screen in front of you. They're walking, they're talking to each other, all of those things, but you are in the theater and you're just observing them. You're not a part of the movie, but you're just like watching them through your eyes and seeing what's going on. On the other hand, of your headset, you are a character in the game. You are someone. You can move your hands. You can talk to people. You can do all those things. And the point I'm trying to make here is that when you are visualizing, you should see whatever you're imagining as if you're viewing it through a VR headset and not like a movie. So don't imagine, if you're trying to manifest, let's say a relationship, for example, don't imagine like yourself in third person, like you're, what's it called? Like you're a ghost just floating out of your body and watching you go and talk to your desired partner, your dream partner. Don't imagine that, okay? Because that is basically you watching a movie. It doesn't mean that you are actually manifesting it for yourself. When you do that, what you will manifest is seeing more people in your real life that have the desire that you want. So you will see other couples that maybe like one of the people in that relationship looks like you, but you will see other people in relationships. You won't get that person, but you'll see other people having it more and more and more. That's what you're going to be manifesting. On the other hand, when you look at things through your headset, like see your hands in front of you and see yourself like maybe being led by that person, that's when you're signaling, okay, I want this for myself. I want to manifest this partner for me. And it's like, if you're manifesting becoming a pop star or singing at a concert, don't visualize yourself looking at yourself in the third person, dancing and singing on stage or playing your instrument. Look through your eyes. You're on the stage right now. Look through your eyes and see the crowd below you. However, do whatever it feels good. Like visualize whatever feels good. This is very important, by the way. You got to visualize what feels good to you. If you're visualizing different images and none of them click for you, then try to find a new one. See the world through your eyes, and you will have done proper visualization. So with that being said, right, another thing that I want to mention is that a visualization clip, it is not like more than 5 minutes or more than 10 minutes. And I know, okay. When you're fantasizing, it's easy to get into like these complex plots and these complex these characters and this complex dialogue, and it just goes on for maybe like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and you're just standing in your room or whatever, just thinking about this wonderful fantasy world and all of the characters in it and all the people in it. I know it's honestly more pleasurable for your brain to do that, okay? Like think of a complex storyline, especially if you're a creative person. But listen, it's not going to help you rewire your mind, rewire your beliefs. Even though I know it's pleasurable, it feels good, but the thing that will actually rewire you is visualizing properly. And visualization clips, they aren't longer than 5 minutes. Most of the time, they're only like 2 minutes per scene. And the scene isn't complicated. It's something that feels extremely simple and very real to you. Like if you're going through this complex storyline, okay, let me give you an example. I used to fantasize all the time about having like a group of friends. We'll go to the mall and we'll like go shopping and like be talking a lot together, and we'll go to the woods and all, okay? And as I was like fantasizing about it, we would have like complex dialogue. We would like go drive in this car, and then sometimes I would hop back to third person because first person imagining was kind of tricky for me to get at first. And then we go to the mall, we'll do all those things. And the thing is, when it got too detailed for me, that visualization, when it got too detailed and in depth, my belief that it could be possible in the real world wavered. And it just extinguished. And my mind received it as just a daydream because I no longer believed it could be possible because it got too detailed. And here's the thing. Only visualize and be detailed as long as you believe that it's still possible for you to get. So in your visualization 2-minute clip, right? 2 minutes is like 2 or 1 minute, even less than that, is like the best, okay? And your goal is to make it as real as possible and be specific if you want to, but stop if it feels uncomfortable and stop if you stop believing in it, okay? So that's the goal. That's how you properly visualize. Do not spiral into long daydream fantasizing if your goal is to actually manifest and rewire your beliefs and identity, because this is not going to help. Instead, fantasizing, all it really does is just give you a form of escapism from your reality. So technically, you are drifting off into this fantasy daydream world that you believe is impossible, which isn't going to be turning the gears on your beliefs and starting the manifestation process either. But let's say you have like this long fantasy dialogue and you believe that it is possible for you to achieve. In that case, if you believe it's possible for you to achieve, if it feels real, if it feels grounded, if it's like in a way grounded in your real life reality. So if you're currently like living in your apartment, you're not visualizing riding a dragon or whatever, and you actually feel like, okay, this can actually work, I believe in this, and maybe the dialogue, the plot, the storyline is kind of long, then maybe you're one of the very few people that this can actually work for. You can actually manifest with that. But if you're someone that, as you get more detailed with things, you lose hope, you lose belief, then do not do that. Stick to more simple visualizations for your desire. Now, the third difference is that fantasizing comes up very randomly. Visualizing comes up when you are intentional with it. So fantasizing, a couple of triggers for it is boredom. Maybe you're on a bus ride home and it's like an hour long and you're bored, and yeah, so your mind starts to drift off into La La Land and you start thinking about that fantasy where you're a supermodel riding all these supercars. It happens without you knowing, without you consciously thinking about it. And it's kind of like, let's say, you know how during our day-to-day life, right, we have some certain things that we do on autopilot. We have chores that we do on autopilot, like if you're doing laundry or cleaning the place. Maybe cooking, you do that on autopilot. Those autopilot things that we do that don't take up mental energy at all, that's kind of like fantasizing. Visualizing, on the other hand, does take intentional mental energy. Visualizing is like you sitting down and doing a work project or typing up an essay on your computer for school, for work, or doing something that requires your mental focus. That is visualizing. And visualizing requires mental energy. Fantasizing, it does not, because it happens automatically. And the next thing that I want to mention about visualizing, it is gonna have to be consciously called up by you. You make the conscious choice to bring it up and to make it feel good. You're not going to manifest if you fantasize random things in your brain at random times. Unintentionally, you just let your thoughts drift away and bring you to that fantasy world. You need to, throughout your day, be intentional, like, okay, I want to visualize, and then you visualize what you're going to manifest. You visualize the end result. Like if you're on a bus ride, for example, instead of choosing to get into your fantasy, you instead choose, okay, I don't want to drift off into Fantasyland. I want to intentionally manifest right now. You literally think that thought in your brain, I want to intentionally visualize right now. And then you start your visualization clip. That is the key difference. Now, those are all the three differences between visualizing and fantasizing. Moving on to my most favorite interesting topic of this video. It is so interesting, which is the deeper subconscious meaning behind fantasies, a couple of harsh truths, and whether or not you should actually stop fantasizing. Because you might be thinking and expecting me to tell you, okay, don't fantasize at all. Avoid fantasizing. Only visualize. And actually, that's not what I'm going to say. Fantasizing is a double-edged sword. It can be really good for you depending on your specific situation, or really bad for you depending on your specific situation. And this is so exciting. This is so interesting because I've collected this information, all of this like wonderful knowledge over the years of being someone that was chronically fantasizing a lot all the time as a form of escapism from her reality, to then using that creative ability to visualize my desires and create a wonderful dream life, including moving to my desired country. Like I literally would visualize the specific plane ride there, which caused me to manifest it. And I have a video on that on my channel if you want to learn more. So yeah, I'm so excited for this. Fantasizing is a double-edged sword, and it is, number one, it is good for you if you're in this specific circumstance where you are in a chronic state of distress and survival mode, and you use it as a form of self-soothing, as a nervous system emotional regulator. This is what I did a couple of years ago. I was like very, very, very stressed and in survival mode, anxious, afraid, fearful, extremely lonely. And in my fantasies, I would imagine myself feeling comforted by these two people who I saw as extensions of me, my inner masculine, who showed up as a man with red hair, was warm, was kind, was funny, was confident, and my inner feminine, who I saw as a woman that was hooded, who was soft-spoken, who was nice, kind, and grateful. This is like what I visualized these two friends of mine as in my fantasies. And basically, whenever I went through something distressing in my external reality, something embarrassing happened, something horrible happened that made me so triggered and scared and afraid, I would rush to this fantasy daydream where I would imagine them comforting me. They would let me cry, they would hug me, hold me, and the environment I was in, my daydream, was a safe, warm, comfortable house where I was sitting in like a pile of blankets and they had their arms around me and they were comforting me. In my fantasy, these people, they were holding space for my emotions. They were validating them, letting me express them freely, which deeply, deeply self-soothed me. I didn't have that in real life. I didn't have anyone around me that I could go to have my emotions validated. And I didn't feel safe opening up either. And so instead of bottling the emotions up, I was able to properly process them in my fantasy daydream world, which was extremely, extremely helpful. It also regulated my nervous system a lot because these two friends of mine, I would imagine laying on the grass with them, being outdoors in nature. We would be going on like adventures in the woods together. And of course it was a fantasy world, so I imagined like my inner feminine having like magical powers or something and being like a fairy. I was there with them, okay? So it was like a group of three. I would imagine myself in the first person, or sometimes as opposed to third person, being with them and having them hold me. And going on little adventures in the woods, crossing rivers, and exploring the world as well as going to the mall and driving in a car and just talking, enjoying each other's company, and being authentic. And I know this is escapism, right? This is pretty much the definition of escapism. Me living in my head and relying on my head's fantasies, my fictional world in it, to soothe me. But the thing is, this is actually extremely, extremely crucial for you if you are in like a distressing environment currently where maybe you're constantly working, you never have a break to yourself, you are always just overworked and like you're kind of anxious, you're kind of stressed about everything. Going into this fantasy world is the best thing that you can do to regulate yourself, regulate your emotions. And I always say this, it's extremely crucial, okay, that you do not force yourself to feel positive or think positive when you are in like an environment which is like showing you a lot of the opposite, okay? We started off with like baby steps. You start off small, you start off feeling comforted, and as you feel comforted and feel good, slowly your environment will start to shift and everything like works out fine. I went on a little tangent there, but these fantasies, I think, truly, truly, truly just made me feel so, so safe, so regulated. And I would even go as far to say that they saved me from falling into depths of misery and falling into depths of pain. Because imagine if I didn't fantasize and live in this mental world in my brain. I would constantly be only looking at the horrible outside world around me, which would then make me feel horrible, make me feel miserable, and then I decide, no, I can't fantasize. That's like bad, that's escapism. So I have to live in the real world, grounded in reality, and feel a lot of pain. These fantasies were an outlet to help me process emotions. These fantasies help me slowly, truly start to regulate my nervous system because I was feeling more calm whenever I went into this world. And the thing is, I was lonely as well, and having this kind of companionship made me feel so full and satisfied. I remember this was like back when I was still in school and when I was like pretty young, years ago. I would be alone sitting at my desk and I would put my head on my desk and then I would imagine going into this fantasy world with my friends and I would feel full and smile and feel happy. But if I didn't do that, what would have happened was that I would be sitting alone and feeling ashamed of myself, looking at all the other people around me and feeling alone and lonely, like no one wanted to be friends with younger me. And of course, this is all in the past. I'm a completely different person now, but I am grateful for fantasizing. I am grateful to be able to daydream and soothe myself through those daydreams. And the next thing that I want to talk about, right, is that this actually helped me reach a state where I was like more calm and peaceful at a good baseline, along with discovering manifestation, okay? And I really believe it is so important to reach a calm, steady baseline where you're mostly feeling peace, mostly calm emotions, and not chronically stressed and anxious all the time, which will then, right, be allowing you to more quickly, more easily manifest your desires. Because when you're in survival mode, right, that's basically like having weights on you as you're trying to trek up the mountain and manifest your desire. But when you aren't in survival mode, when you're at this calm baseline, then it's so much easier to manifest what you want because your nervous system is open and receptive. And the thing is, when you constantly are in survival mode, by default, since you're 80% feeling negative emotions, you will manifest more and more negative situations in your life. But getting to a calm baseline, or even getting to a higher vibrational state where you feel very good emotions, positive, like love, gratitude, faith, all of those, like 80% every time, then your default is currently like, boom, switched around to the opposite. You're manifesting good luck. Things always seem to work out. Everything unfolds in your favor. And of course, if you want to learn more about regulating your baseline and getting back to a baseline if you're currently in survival mode, or also just if you're at a baseline currently going into a higher vibrational state, you can check out my program, The Co-Creator's Path, where I go over the 7 pillars of manifestation. And one of the pillars in particular, it talks about emotional mastery and really healing out of that survival mode state by doing certain action steps, by doing certain trauma healing and inner child work and shadow work, along with rewiring your mind and following the law of assumption, the law of attraction, and universal laws to start manifesting slowly in the right direction and increase your dominant frequency baseline, which is basically the emotions you feel on default, which determines what you manifest on default. So anyways, that's just a quick little plug-in. If you resonate with what I'm teaching, then of course I would love to see you in the community. Now that I was at a nice baseline, I realized that I started to fantasize less and less because my real world was starting to get exciting now. It was starting to be more fun. And I was calm. And at that point, like, I knew about manifestation and I was practicing it consistently, and I knew that now I need to swap out fantasizing for visualizing my desires. And that's what I did, right? I thanked fantasizing for helping me. I thanked my fantasies. I thanked those 2 people in my fantasies for helping me reach a regulated state, and their job was done now. Your fantasies' job is done. And so this brings me to the second specific circumstance where fantasizing is actually not meant for you, and I would suggest quitting it gently and letting it go with love. When you're at a calm baseline where you feel mostly like, okay, fine, it's time for you to slowly quit it and bring up more visualizing. Even though, yes, fantasizing might be more pleasurable, visualizing long-term is more worth it for your dream reality, for your desires. Visualizing is worth it because the feeling you get when your desire manifests in the physical world is so much more better than staying in your fantasy world in your head all the time, because this world is so real, it is so rich, it is so wonderful and delicious, much more than whatever your fantasy your brain can conjure, okay? It's time to be more grounded now. And especially fantasizing, it starts to repel your manifestations when you're at a calm baseline. For example, limerence. I've talked about this on my channel. Limerence is having obsessive fantasies about real life people in the real life world where you are dramatizing your interaction with them. Like you meet someone for the first time, and now in your fantasy world, all of a sudden you're getting married, you're going on a honeymoon or something to a place. That will repel your manifestation because limerence is not normal for someone who is in a healthy relationship, who is in a relationship already. They will not fantasize about that. And if you're a wealthy person already, you're not going to fantasize about being wealthy. Instead, you're going to feel grounded and calm and good in knowing that you are wealthy. How do you exactly quit fantasizing then? How do you stop it? Basically, I want to tell you the deeper meaning about fantasizing first in order to be able to fully stop it. The reason why you fantasize and the subconscious meaning that your heart wants you to know. And that is, your heart is signaling to you that something in the fantasy is meeting a core need within you that you are unable to give yourself in real life. It's trying to bring attention to this, basically, so you can integrate it, become aware of it, and properly showcase it in your real world. And I'll give you examples of this, okay? My fantasy of having 2 friends that were validating my emotions were treating me well. That fantasy was extremely strong in the past, and I will constantly go back to it because at that time, of course, my unmet need was having people that could properly validate my emotions. I didn't feel like I could be authentic in my friendships either. And so what I had to do was to meet that need myself. Basically, I had to give myself a sense of community, a sense of I'm here for you, I got you, and a sense of self-love that I was on my side and I was my own companion. And so that friend group I was visualizing just turned out to be my soul craving, my heart craving my acceptance and craving companionship. Of course, it's kind of like obvious. And the moment when I started to make like my own friends and enjoy my own company, because I didn't do that in the past, okay? I didn't fully enjoy my company. I just enjoyed the company of my people in my fantasies. So when I started to enjoy my own company, love myself, treat myself well, the need to fantasize about that just went away, and now I no longer do that. I only visualize now. And that visualization, of course, has transformed my life. Another example could be maybe you imagine yourself to be a powerful person. You're a powerful person that is very wealthy, very rich, high status. You earn a lot of respect. That is something your soul craves, your heart authentically craves. You want to feel like you are worthy. You want to feel like you're worthy and good enough and you're not worthless. And you want to feel like you're needed. Like if you're a superhero in your fantasy and you're trying to like rescue people. It might sound cringe to talk about superhero fantasies, but whatever. They're fantasies, okay? We need to break the limiting belief that a fantasy can be cringe because these fantasies are trying to tell us what we need to give ourselves. And so the main question that I want you to ask, right, is you can actually journal this. It'll be super helpful. What unmet need is this fantasy fulfilling in me? How is this fantasy fulfilling this unmet need that I'm not satisfying myself in my real life? For example, the superhero person fantasizing that. They could be living a life where they don't feel needed. They feel like they're not contributing to the world properly. They don't feel like they're worthy of love. They don't feel like they're a worthy person of being a human. And so the thing is, you need to tell yourself that you are inherently worthy and realize that you are inherently worthy in order to stop fantasizing about that and to reduce your heart's need to keep fantasizing that and filling that void within you with that fantasy. You need to realize you're inherently worthy as you are. You don't have to change anything about yourself. You're perfect as you are. And if contributing is something you want to do and contribute to the world, look for actual real life action steps or habits you can do to contribute. Like, start very small. Okay, very, very small. Like, maybe it could be as simple as just picking up the litter that you see on the streets and feeling like you're contributing through that. It could be maybe asking one of your friends if they need any help with something. And if they do say, like, yeah, I need some help moving, I would really appreciate it. I don't really want to hire people and because it's like really expensive, so I'd appreciate that help. You go and you help them. And what we're doing right now is meeting that unmet need through an alternative, healthy activity in the real world that brings you that same feeling. So in your fantasies, right? If you, let's say you're daydreaming about like some Prince Charming coming and saving you and rescuing you or whatever. If you're imagining that, what feelings do you want? Ask yourself that. It could be you want to feel safe. You want to feel protected. You want to feel needed by someone, desired. And the thing is, any feeling that you crave, you have the potential to give that feeling to yourself right now. You can do it right now. You can do it, okay? If you want to feel protected, if you want to feel strong, acknowledge your own inner strength and know that you can protect yourself on your own. And do an alternative activity in the real world. Do an action step, something really small, doesn't have to be perfect, that brings that feeling within you. Protection, for example, if you want to feel secure and safe. An alternative activity that you go and do to bring you the same feeling could be to maybe just understand that you are strong on your own. And feel and know that you can protect yourself. Like, that could be enough. Just acknowledge that you are strong, that you are able to protect yourself. You can do it. There's inner strength within you. Or, of course, you could do like an actual physical, tangible action, which is to buy pepper spray or something. Or be more responsible with your career. Stand up for yourself in conversations. Not let people walk all over you. Be firm in your opinion. Don't act shy, but instead stand tall and know your worth. And know that you can protect yourself while you're at work, and you can protect yourself with words. That you will stand up for yourself, that you will not let people put you down. It could also be, maybe in the past, you've always been lenient towards this certain old grandma in your apartment complex who, let's say, is quite disrespectful to you. But this time, since you choose to make yourself feel safe and secure, instead of going along with what that grandma says, that old lady, you could just walk away and not show a smile on your face and smile politely like you used to do. You could walk away, you could ignore her, you could stop thinking about her, and not settle for politeness and smiling politely at her when she didn't show you the same kindness. That could also be a way you feel secure and protected. So there's many ways, obviously, to do this. It's like all up to you. And for me personally, like, I realized that the short-term solution to stop fantasizing is to, first of all, meet whatever need you're not meeting in real life on your own by using your fantasies as a clue to what feeling you want. Just do your best as you can. Of course, it might not be perfect. Of course, you can't meet maybe all your needs and it might not like work out perfectly, but do your best to do that. And trust me when I say this, it will be so worth it. So in summary, okay, of all action steps that you can take to properly stop fantasizing. Number one is to just question and ask yourself, what unmet need or feeling am I getting from this fantasy? What is it filling in me? And then give yourself whatever feeling it is in the outside world through this alternative feeling, okay? Through this alternative habit or action that you're going to be taking. And this might take a while. This might take some time, okay? This is more of a long-term goal for you to have. Because when you create a life for yourself that feels so good, where all your needs are being met emotionally, that you don't even have to settle for escapism into daydream la la land, you've won. You will never ever fantasize, and instead you will be living fully in the real world. But of course, maybe your life is not fully perfect right now. Maybe you're in a job you don't like, you're alone, you're in a house you don't like, and that's okay. And maybe fantasies will come up as you're currently living in your current situation, but that is completely fine. Instead, just have the long-term priority of asking yourself, what kind of life would feel so good that I don't even feel the need to fantasize anymore? Ask yourself that, write down something really detailed, write down a clear picture of it, and then take small baby steps towards putting in habits that give you feelings that your fantasies are giving you. And this is so much healthier, okay? This is so much healthier. And for me, like, the companionship fantasy that I had, I focused on reading books on social skills and going out and meeting new people, talking to them, being open to friendships, and getting closer to other people, giving them chances, trusting people again. And once I made a lot of friends, I didn't have need to go into my fantasy world anymore because that feeling was already being fulfilled emotionally. So that's the long-term goal that I want you to have, okay? So brainstorm some little action steps that you can do right now. Journal on it. Like, what is a small action that I can take right now? What is one small action that I can take right now to fulfill a fantasy? To fulfill a feeling that I crave, even though it might not be the exact same thing, but it's close enough. Another example would be maybe your fantasy makes you feel like you're high status and beautiful, okay? A real world action step you can do to make yourself feel beautiful and high status would be to take care of yourself, would be to buy clothes that suit you, that flatter you. Research into that. Do research into healthcare and how you can take care of your health to make your skin glow and your hair luscious. Research that, and you are going to be fulfilling that feeling within you. And now before I leave you, I just want to give you one quick, super duper helpful, short-term action step that you can do to stop fantasizing. And this is very easy, but it's going to sound so funny. To quickly stop your fantasy, as you go into daydream land and you start thinking about it, you imagine yourself with maybe your fantasy partner or whatever. Imagine that fantasy having something completely random, something completely ridiculous pop up. So this could be you fantasizing about someone because you're limerent, okay? Imagine that person and you start screaming at each other and suddenly they turn into a duck and suddenly the ceiling comes crashing down and suddenly you and that person, you both turn into ducks, you both turn into ants. Insert something ridiculous to snap you out of that fantasy and make you laugh, hopefully. This is what I did particularly for fantasies of limerence, of course. I am no longer limerent, and I'm so grateful for that because now I can actually form healthy relationships with other people instead of living in a fantasy ideal of what that person would be like in the real world. And I would just imagine randomly, like, both of us arguing over and over and over again whenever that fantasy popped up. And over, like, a couple of days, it went away. Like, I stopped fantasizing about that. I just stopped. The fantasy doesn't even come up anymore because I just interrupted it so many times over and over and over again. And I also did the long-term action step, which was meeting the feeling limerence gave me in my real world. So anyways, we've reached the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm so glad you're here. Of course, if you want to learn more and get more of me and join the community, you can. First link in the description below. I would love to have you there. You can DM me personally and I can help you with your specific situation and all of that good stuff. So